All right, Derek Togerson. We picked a perfect day for a live on Friar, Oggi's Carmel Mountain Ranch. What a day for the San Diego Padres.
If only people could see what goes on behind the scenes, how much you've been running around all over the place doing this. We're still working on stuff right now for NBC7 and NBC7.com. It's wild.
It is wild, but man, what a cool deal. Dylan Cease has thrown the second no-hitter in Padres history. I'm listening to Mike Schilt in the post-game. You're working on web stories, and here we are live from Oggi's Carmel Mountain Ranch on Friar Podcast. Appreciate you being here with us. What a cool occasion. And you couldn't draw it up any better than this, Derek, to have something monumental to talk about with Dylan Cease pulling it off. I thought we were going to be talking about the trade deadline here today and potential targets and that sort of thing. But instead, we'll
still get to that.
We'll get to that. But we will spend a lot of our time on a really
they
cool
don't need
piece
as
of
many
history.
starting pitchers now, do they?
They might not. They might not. Starting pitching has been very, very good. Never as good as it was today. Dylan Cease, what a gutsy effort to finish the job, a job that looked like he would not have an opportunity to finish in the seventh inning. We'll get to that dynamic. Dylan Cease just motivated, determined to get it done, and Mike Schilt giving his guy an opportunity to finish the drill, which is really, really cool. Great to be here. Nice crowd enjoying their lunch here at Oggi's Carmel Mountain Ranch. If you look on the screen here, how about this? We got our own on Friar pint glasses, courtesy of the folks from Oggi's. And I was just told that you'll have a chance to, there you go, fill it up, get a glass of water. You can take these home as well. This is the first time I've ever seen these on Friar pint glasses from Oggi's. If you come to Oggi's in August, watch a Padres game, order a beer.
That's some high quality H2O right there.
You can keep a pint glass, so you can get some on Friar swag. Same thing with these coasters in September. Go to any Oggi's location, watch a Padres game, order a beer.
I thought that was one of those little sugar cookies that's painted. I got really excited for a second.
A cookie would be nice, but an On Friar coaster is even cooler. So thanks to the folks at On Friar for taking care of us, for giving us our own On Friar merch, and you can enjoy those as well. We've got some giveaways for the folks that are here. $50 in Padres vouchers that can be used on tickets, that can be used on merch at games. And so we're taking names. Give us your email address. We'll add you to the list. You have a chance to win $50 from the fine folks at Oggi's. All right, let's get down to business. Derek Togerson, Dylan Cease, no-hitter. What jumped out to you about his performance today that allowed him to get it done?
His fastball was incredible. And he really had the Washington Nationals offense guessing. How many times he had 9 strikeouts? How many of those strikeouts were pitches outside the strike zone?
Mm-hmm.
You know, rookie James Wood, who's going to be an incredible player, former Padre, swung at a ball that was probably 4 or 5 inches above the strike zone for strike 3. He was getting a lot of guys to swing and miss on pitches outside the strike zone because he was really, really good. I mean, he was locating and then getting ahead in counts. And then when you have to do that, guys have to expand the strike zone a little bit because they know you're going to be around it. And then he was the way he threw this game, the game plan, the way he executed it, stay in the zone, then expand and get them to chase. It was absolutely gorgeous.
It was absolutely gorgeous. That's a great word for it. And Dylan Cease has been trending in this direction. Went through a bit of a rough patch, had a fantastic first 9 starts, seemed to lose it a little bit. Was getting it back, finished the first half really, really strong, started to see that Cy Young stuff reemerge. And I mean, even as recently as, what was it on Saturday? His most recent start, I believe it was 1 hit, 7 scoreless innings with 11 strikeouts. He has been phenomenal of late, and it looked like a performance like this could be on the way, and he put it all together today. Our buddy Kyle Glazer, friend of the podcast, tweeted out his last 3 starts in Atlanta on the 13th, 6 innings pitch, scoreless, 1 hit, 3 walks, 11 strikeouts. Saturday against Cleveland, 7 scoreless, 1 hit, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. And then today goes the distance, no hitter, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts. The 3 walks first came early, and it looked like maybe pitch count would be the one thing that would slow him down. And it looked like after the 7th inning, we're texting each other, trying to figure out the plan for this thing. Is it really going to happen? Everybody's on Twitter, monitoring what's going on. Again, seeing some handshakes in the dugout. It looks like maybe his day is done. Next thing you know, he's going back out there for the 8th inning, a really efficient 8th inning.
Yeah,
and
9 pitches in the 8th inning. That's what saved his bacon. Had he gone 13, 14, there's no way he goes back out there. We have the combined hitter, no hitter. That, by the way, we predicted in the last episode of the Friar podcast.
We did.
So there's going to be a combined no hitter in the second half. Dylan Cease got it half right, I guess.
Yeah.
So thanks, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan, for that. And he might be making a late Cy Young push the way that he's got to go in lately. 114 pitches today. Like you said, that 8th inning was key. And he talked about it with Don and Mud after the game, immediately after his start. That scene in the dugout after the 7th inning where he's getting some handshakes, talking to Ruben, talking to Mike Schilt. He's at 94 pitches at that point. Says, look, guys, I feel great. Let's see what happens in the 8th. And if we can finish this thing off. And he goes out there, holds up his end of the bargain in the 8th inning, and then just as good in the 9th. And
11 pitches in the 9th,
11
by the way.
pitches in the 9th.
That was impressive. That was just because you're sitting there watching it, and it's like Michael King had 1 through 6 the other night, and you're going, okay, this kind of feels like it might happen, and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
When it gets to the 8th inning, that's when you start to go, oh boy, like here we go. Now it really feels like you're 6 outs away, right? You've gotten 21 outs. You only need 6 more, and it feels like the longest 6 outs of your entire career. And oh, by the way, I heard Jesse and Tony talking on the radio as I was driving over here. Dylan Cease had a no-hitter in the 9th inning a couple years ago with the White Sox. You know who broke it up?
Yep.
Luis Ariz.
Not today.
So I'm wondering if Luis walked over and said, hey, man, sorry. It took a little longer because of me, but I'm glad you finally got one that I could actually be on your team for.
Yeah.
This is my retribution.
He didn't have to worry about one of the most effective, most dangerous hitters in the game just from pure kind of bat to ball skills this time around. Fortunately, did have to worry about James Wood and CJ Abrams in the 8th and 9th innings. And you can't help but wonder, just like from a narrative standpoint, these two guys that get shipped off, could one of them spoil Dylan Cease's day? And how disappointing that would be. That, of course, not the case. He gets through them, and a hard hit liner to right. I don't know if you saw the replay of Bryce Johnson out in right field. Makes the play. Look, a very routine looking play. I don't know.
He was sweating bullets,
but he didn't look like it. He almost had a smile on his face as soon as he squeezes it, raised his fist, points at Dylan Cease, and that was so awesome. I would be a nervous wreck. I think about Ha-seong Kim. Ha-seong Kim, his first year in the bigs, the final out, again, a routine grounder that solidified Joe Musgrove's no-hitter. The nerves, the energy that must be coursing through your veins in those moments, but that's why those guys are the professionals and they get it done.
It was wonderful to see. Absolutely wonderful to see. I'm having trouble finding words for this right now because we went so long without having one, right? And then you get 2 and 3 years.
Yeah.
How great is that? I guess they say they come in bunches, right? Well, and by the way, just for a guy who struggled as much as he did for like a 2-month stretch as Dylan Cease, we're going, what's wrong with this guy? We know he's better than this.
Yeah.
We know Dylan Cease's stuff is off the charts. He's got, and we've said it before, he's got no hit stuff every time he takes the mound, and it wasn't working. And then to see what Kyle Glazer put out there, what he's done the last 3 starts, this is even better than the Dylan Cease that we thought we were getting when they made that trade just before the Korea series. It's like this guy right now is throwing the ball better than he ever has in his entire career. And that's saying something for a guy who was a Cy Young runner-up 2 years ago.
And I said something the first couple months early on watching him pitch that quickly turned into a terrible take. It aged very poorly. That maybe Dylan Cease is the best pitcher that we've seen in a Padres uniform in recent history with the Musgroves, Darvishes, Blake Snells. Those first 9 starts, he looked like he could be even better. Took a step back. That take did not age well, but now he's looking like that guy again, that when he's on top of his game is as good as there is in Major League Baseball, and he shows it again today. And you mentioned the no-hitters, waiting so long for them, finally get one. Now we have 2 in, about a 3+ year span. Joe Musgrove, remember, he flirted with another one. I think Sean Manaea, Yu Darvish, Michael King just
Darvish
this last
for sure
weekend.
has, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Waldron's gone, more and more we're seeing guys at least kind of on the outskirts where you start to think, okay, is this possible today? Do they have it? Whereas in the past, I don't know if we even really thought about it or considered it. It seems like every month or so we're getting somebody that pops up, gets through 5 or 6 unscathed, and you think with this stuff that this guy has, you could reasonably expect it. Couldn't necessarily say that about Joey Lucchesi or Eric Lauer, early Chris Paddock, those types of guys. But now with the complement of arms, there's always 2 or 3 guys in the staff that you could say, yeah, he's got no-hit stuff. We had this conversation. Who would it be? I think you said Dinelson Lamet back in 2019 or 2020.
He had the stuff for it.
He had the stuff for it, right. And now there's more and more guys in this team that have the makeup to do what he did.
Hey, can we talk about that 5th inning?
We probably should.
Leading off the 5th inning. Okay, so there's the leading off the 5th. He's got a no-hitter through 4, right? And this was the moment that I thought maybe the baseball gods are shining upon Dylan Cease and the Padres today because there's a pop-up, shallow center field. Xander Bogaerts goes back on it. He has a little bit of trouble. He has to tend to twist his body around, change it. The ball falls into his glove and a little bit of a Willie Mays-looking basket catch, but he can't squeeze it. The ball pops up. And God bless you, Jackson Merrill, the rookie, fundamentally sound. You always back your guy up. It was like baseball's version of a lob, right? Just throw it up there, the alley-oop, and Jackson Merrill standing right there very nonchalantly just gloves it for the outs. Your very typical 4-8 flyouts on the score sheets. When that happened and everything looked like it was going the way, I went, you know what? I've got kind of a good feeling about this. Like that's one of those plays you just kind of go, okay, either that's going to be the beginning of the end because that's the last luck you get and you're done, or this is your day, kid. Go out and enjoy it. And it turned out to be the latter. I'm so happy that it was.
No question. And you might remember Xander Bogaerts bought Jackson Merrill the blazer that he wore on the runway at the All-Star game.
Yep.
Very, very cool gesture. He should maybe buy him something else, maybe buy him dinner, for backing him up the way that he did. Maybe Dylan Cease as well. And you're absolutely right. It's moments like that with a guy like Dylan Cease on the mound. When you see a defensive play like that, you think, okay, are we going to be talking about this play? Is this play going to get more and more significant as the game goes on? And I would love to hear what Jackson Merrill has to say now in hindsight, given that he made that defensive play that a lot of people that and Bogaerts in the 8th inning as well.
Yeah, well, I want to hear what Xander's going through his mind when that ball popped out of his glove.
Yeah.
That's got to be like your heart is just sunk to the lowest depths. You think you just cost your guy a chance at a no. And then there's Jackson Merrill right there to save your bacon. It was like this. Talk about an emotional roller coaster in a span of about, 25 milliseconds. My goodness.
Of course, coming to you live, Carmel Mountain Ranch. Great to be here. Thanks to Oggi's, all they do for the On Fire podcast and the NBC7 sports team. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit the chat. Let us know what you think about Dylan Cease's no-no. We'll also talk trade deadline, what you want to see from the Padres in the coming few days. We'll get to your comments on the show. Wow. And, Bogaerts then in the 8th inning of one of those, is it going to be a hit? Is it going to be an error? Fortunately, we didn't have to answer that question because the throw got there in time, but another anxious moment from Xander Bogaerts with a no-hitter on the line, just barely made the play in time and had to avoid kind of.
And it was the catcher. If it's any other person in the lineup running, he beats it out.
If it's C.J. Abrams, James Wood.
They beat it out.
Yeah.
It's the slowest guy possibly in the game on both sides on either roster that day who is running. Those are the kind of things that, man, like they have to go your way to have something like that happen. And they all went Dylan Cease's way. Literally, and if it's the next dude that does that, it's a hit. Yeah. It's crazy sometimes how these things happen.
You're going to love this. Dennis Lynn just tweeted out, Dylan Cease has been staying in Joe Musgrove's guest house since April. Rent's going up, Musgrove said.
Or doesn't the no-hitter buy him a free month?
Yeah, I don't know how that works. It's a good question. Unless the implication is that some of the juju from Joe Musgrove, No Joe, has rubbed off on Dylan and gave him the magic that he needed today.
Well, what I don't know is Dylan has 3 cats. What's the pet deposit like at Joe's guest house?
That's true.
Is it per animal? Is there what is he charging just simply for the cleanup of the cats?
Take him out to a nice dinner. I think that should be enough to make him even. But I mean, what a cool and fun connection.
So how big is Joe's guest house that a fellow Major League All-Star is going to be staying in there?
Maybe Dylan is a low maintenance guy. I mean, he seems like, simple fellow, doesn't have a whole lot of needs.
He is very low key.
He is a very, very low key individual.
If he's on the field giving his interview afterwards, he's like, yeah, it was a special day.
And
just Dylan, be excited.
It's interesting that you say that, and one thing I'll be interested to hear more about in the aftermath of this is, we remember Joe, creature of habit. he was pounding water, I think, every inning or every couple innings. Did not want to go to the bathroom during his no-hitter. You know what I mean? Dylan Cease,
I'd have lost a no-no. Bathroom break's got to happen.
That would have been tough. Yeah. It seemed maybe
Cubs are uncomfortable enough as it is.
Maybe just the fact that it was an afternoon game, the whole vibe around the dugout. I saw the guys on the rail. There was the funny story. Blake Snell was standing by Adrian Morhone. Morhone wanted to move. Snell said, "No, you're not going anywhere. Right. You're staying right here."
Right.
So those are always interesting kind of tidbits you hear about when guys throw a no-no. But it seemed very relaxed, even down again to that conversation in the 7th where they're just like, "No, I'm good. I'm in a good place. I think we should keep it going." And credit to Mike Schilt.
Yep.
I don't know if I'd say it's a criticism I've had of Mike Schilt, but an observation I've had of Mike Schilt is he errs on the other end of the spectrum for Bob Melvin, who would challenge his guys, push his guys.
Go 148 pitches. You're good.
Get that last out. Get that last inning. Schilt is quicker to say, okay, let's not push it too far. You often hear him say he did his job. Randy Vasquez, what was it? Like 69 pitches, gets through whatever it was, 6 innings the other day. They're like, well, why'd you pull him out with a pitch count? He had done his job. Very much Mike Schilt.
Vasquez is still a rookie, remember, too.
It's true, but he's thrown 100 on occasion. So credit to Mike Schilt, and he kind of referenced it in the post game, listening to his guys, not saying, okay, my word is my word. I'm making this decision, deal with it. Hearing from Dylan Cease, understanding where he is, seeing how the stuff's working, and giving him an opportunity to finish it out, because that's not always the case, just in general. And that hasn't exactly been Mike Schilt's MO. He has erred on the more cautious side to this point.
He sees the big picture. He's like, listen, a no-hitter is fantastic, but if you're going to go after this and risk messing yourself up or getting tired for the next 2 starts, well, we need those 2 games more than you need a no-hitter, because this is a team sport. That's where he will always err on the side of. He wants his guys to stay fresh and healthy for as long as he possibly can, or as they possibly can. And this one, he was like, all right, if I get any kind of an inkling that Dylan is laboring at all, I'm going to go. I'm telling him right now, I'm going to pull him. He looked at him. You can see it in Dylan's face. He's just like, why are you here? Why are you? What are you doing? Get away from me. This is for me. Really? Are you freaking kidding me? No, I got this. We're good. And sure enough, he goes out and mows through him in 20 pitches in the next 2 innings. It was glorious. It was just glorious to see that happen.
Again, it finished at 114. He referenced after the game, he knew in the back of his mind he had thrown 113. That came at Chicago back in May. 97 was last time out, getting through 7 innings. Again, he's at 94 through 7 in this case. Has hit 100 or more a bunch of times, but had that number 113 in his mind. I can throw somewhere in that neighborhood. And sure enough, he just goes one beyond to finish the drill.
114 sounds pretty good to me. How many did Joe throw in his?
I was just thinking that. I want to say.
I wonder, is 114 the magic number for Padres no-hitters? Because that would be very interesting. 114. I thought that stuck in the back of my head. Yep. I thought so.
So both Joe Musgrove and Dylan Cease threw 114 pitches.
There's something to this guest house thing now. I'm convinced they have some sort of like ethereal cosmic connection that's happening, because that's freaking weird.
That is wild.
That's freaking weird.
Huh. Now, Joe hit Joey Gallo. That was the only thing that kept him from a perfect game. That was the only
the only hit of the game was one that Joe had.
Base runner he allowed. In this case, Dylan Cease, 3 walks. Joe, there was really no incredible defensive play. I think Jake might have snagged a hard hit liner, but didn't have to dive or anything like that to do it.
It was very economical. It was almost business-like. This one had a few more moments in it.
Yes, which makes it feel like a traditional no-hitter.
Right. Like Joe's was rare. When you go out there and you just are dominant, and there's really no harrowing moments or nothing where you're going like, wow, that one saved the day. That happens in most no-hitters. Joe's was weird because there was nothing like that. It was just out, and they're all fairly routine.
Incredible. The 114 number is blowing my mind. Again, these connections that you find out about with him staying there, pitch count, all that is just incredible. Joe, I think he struggled a little bit his next time out after that.
Yep.
Dylan Cease.
Well, you don't sleep for 3 days afterwards.
as we know, he's been close. So he's had this experience before. He's thrown over 100 a bunch of times. He's got some experience. So that'll be kind of one of the questions going forward. Again, with a rotation that's a little bit taxed, that's down a couple arms, a problem for another day. We can just enjoy it in the meantime, as we should, but something to think about now going forward. Whenever Dylan Cease's next start comes around, do they give him another day? We'll see.
Well, now we have to start looking at when are we going to get a no-hitter at home? Because we've got two no-nos. They're both on the road, one in Texas, one in Washington. San Diego's still never seen a no-hitter by a Padre pitcher.
Yeah.
At Petco Park. What A.J. Burnett threw one at Qualcomm. Tim Lincecum threw one at Petco. Like, when do we get to enjoy this with our fans? Now they'll start really nitpicking things because that's what we do in the media.
Yep.
No, I'm totally joking, by the way, people. No, it's just, this is amazing.
It's a fair question to ask.
Because Petco Park's usually a pretty good pitcher's park.
And the fact that, like, what was also cool is you saw a ton of Padres fans in the nation's capital.
And credit to the Nationals fans, by the way. The vast majority standing up and applauding and rooting for this to happen. I hate it when people see a no-hitter happening. The game is bigger than the team, okay? The big game of baseball will always be bigger than the team that you root for.
Mm-hmm.
And people got mad at me when I was rooting. I was at that Tim Lincecum game. And then I was going, dude, I hope he does this. I would love to see a no-hitter. They're going, how can you root against us? I'm not rooting against the Padres. I'm rooting for history.
Yes.
There's a massive difference. Credit to most of those people in Washington who were rooting to see something amazing. And by the way, Nationals fans know great pitching. They have Max Scherzer. They have Steven Strasburg. Yeah. They know what great pitching looks like. So for them to get on the back of Dylan Cease and root for him as well, credit to those Nationals fans.
Cool experience for Luis Campusano.
Not too shabby.
How great is that?
I wonder what he's going to get as the gift.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, there's a perfect game or a no-hitter. The pitcher traditionally gives the catcher a gift of some kind. I remember I was working in Arizona when Randy Johnson threw a perfect game to Robbie Hammock, of all people, who was a converted infielder who was catching that day. And he got him a very nice Rolex.
Nice.
So that's a nice gift from Randy Johnson to the guy for that's a very, very, very good job.
So Luis Campusano should be expecting a gift of some sort from Dylan Cease, and well-deserved. And, you know, for a young catcher that's coming into his own, has done some good things behind the plate, has had some times where he's struggled and his performance maybe needs to kind of tighten up a little bit. To have this in the bag, you know, has to be meaningful to him and a cool thing to draw back on, especially when, again, it's probably not the last time as a member of the Padres that he's going to at least be in this type of situation again. Because as we said, they've got the arms to do it. This is cool. We were talking a lot about Joe Musgrove. Apparently, Joe chimed in this from AJ Cassavell when Schilt was intending to remove Cease in the 7th and just said, stuff's pretty good. And Joe, of course, knows what it's like to be in the situation. Joe is a competitor, knows what Dylan Cease is feeling and how motivated he is to do that. And so just chime in, like, let me give you my perspective. Do with this what you will.
The stuff is pretty good.
Stuff is good.
Yeah, stuff is really good. That's kind of what Dylan Cease's stuff always is, but in this day especially. I mean, how many times has he hit 99?
That's another thing.
His fastball is electric right now. Like he's just this year, he's added 2 miles an hour to his fastball. Like he used to hit it occasionally. It's almost like it's consistently now. He is 97, 98, 99. Like he's sitting at 97 and touching 99 an awful lot. It's incredible to see the velo that he has increased. Is that Ruben Niebla? Is that the Point Loma pitching biomechanics lab? Is that working over there to find a couple extra miles an hour there? It's like what's happened with him, I don't know, but he has been throwing the ball harder than he literally ever has in his entire life.
Well, and he's also been doing that at like pitch 100 and beyond. I was watching here with Dave from our sales team in 9th inning, and he's like, did he just throw 100? Like, yes, he did. Yes, he did. In the 9th inning of a no-hitter, he's still hitting triple digits.
Well, that's when the adrenaline takes over.
That's true.
you get to the 9th inning of a no-hitter, and it's like, yeah, all of a sudden. And that can actually be a problem because you get hopped up on adrenaline. You know, adrenaline's a hell of a drug. You get hopped up on that stuff, and all of a sudden you overthrow. You lose your ability to locate, and you start walking guys, and that gets you in trouble, and then you start flattening one out, and yada, yada. That didn't happen with Dylan Cease. He was under and in control the entire time.
Last 3 starts, 22 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 runs, 30 strikeouts. He's back to where it was the first couple months where you're like, this is the best guy I've seen in a Padres uniform.
And I covered Jake Peavy most of his career.
You've been around longer than I have.
And I love Jake. And Jake was a Triple Crown winner and a Cy Young winner. Jake stuff wasn't like this. It was, he threw hard and he had movement and he battled. This thing that Jake did, he was like Joe on the mound. He would battle you to the death.
Mm-hmm.
And he would never give you an inch. And his stuff was incredible. But he relied more on movements.
Mm-hmm.
He threw hard.
Yeah.
But his sinker, Tuesday, he was throwing stuff all over the place. Cecil just flat out rear back and blow your doors off. And then that slider is a whole nother planet. The curveball and the changeup have even come around better more this year. It's just to see him turning now into a complete pitcher like this.
Yeah.
I'm going to say he's got another one of these in his tank. Maybe not this year, but he will throw another no-hitter barring injury at some point in his career. His stuff's too good not to at this point.
And you remember when we talked to Ryan McGuffey, you covered him in Chicago. He said the one thing that's missing, the next step, I should say, is the length. And we're seeing that. We've seen that really from the very beginning. We remember he waved off Schilt at one point, wanted to finish the 7th inning, did it. So we're seeing him go deeper in games. We're seeing him be efficient. And obviously you can't do any better than what he did today. The great Sarah Langs tweeting, Dylan Cease has 6 outings of 6+ innings and 0 or 1 hit this season. That's 2 more than anyone else in a season since at least 1901.
1901?
So 6 outings of 6+ innings, 0 or 1 hit this season. We're 2/3 of the way through the season, 2 more than anybody else in modern baseball history.
So that's literally everyone.
That's basically everybody that you could name.
That falls in Cy Young's era. That's Walter Johnson. That's Bob Gibson, that's Pedro Martinez, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, Randy John. Name somebody who could be on the Mount Rushmore of pitchers. They haven't done that.
Yeah. No.
What WTF?
Yeah.
What is how?
It's completely bananas. And it was nice being in a setting like this too when it happened, because I was at home for Joe's. Usually we're at the station and people gather around the station when stuff like this happens. But to hear a restaurant like roar,
blow up,
and explode for the final out was really, really cool.
Now, have you seen a no-hitter in person?
No. Strasburg?
I was there for Strasburg's 20 strikeout no-hitter at SDSU. It was funny because I was shooting highlights of the game, and then he's got it under control. So on like the 4th or 5th inning, I had enough highlights. I walked across the way because the top 25 San Diego State women's softball team was playing for the Mountain West Conference title against BYU. So I shot some highlights of that game, and then I start hearing buzzing. I'm like, what's going on? And somebody from SDSU walks over, is like, hey, you might want to get back over there. I'm not going to tell you what's happening, but Strasburg's doing something.
Yes.
So I walked back for the last 2 innings of that one.
Amazing.
And I go to the press box. I'm like, how many punch outs does he have? It's like 18. I'm like, and he has it a no. Don't even say it. He did no.
Just look at the scoreboard.
Yeah, so I was there for that one, and then Lincecum's at
nice.
at Petco Park. So I've seen 2 in person.
Yeah,
one at the major league level.
Yeah,
and there's just nothing like. Now Strasburg's was unfair. You talk about how many 20 strikeout games have there been, and how many no hitters have there been?
Yeah,
and he did it at the same time
in
one night. Like Roger Clemens never threw a no hitter, but he had a 20 strikeout game. I mean, Kurt Schilling never threw a no hitter. The number of guys, Greg Maddux, I don't believe ever threw a no hitter. Some of the guys who have not thrown a no hitter, it's we're talking about some of the luminaries of baseball history.
Yeah,
and they didn't do what Dylan Cease just did. It's crazy to think about. But of course, you also think Jim Abbott, who had one hand, he did throw a no hitter. So it could sometimes it's just luck of the draw.
Let's see. We got Rigo chiming in. LFGSD. You can't say it any better than that on a day like this. That says it all. Print the T-shirts. Also funny. Eric the Miz on Twitter points out, laughing at the Nationals who wanted to start some stuff at Petco Park after Jerks and Profar's walk off. The Machado homer Profar Grand Slam, sweep the series, and then they sweep the Nationals
for the season
at
series.
their place and basically single-handedly pick up the Nationals and take them out of playoff contention after they wanted to get a little spicy at Petco Park
what
after
they
Profar's
did,
walk-off.
and we haven't had a chance to talk about this yet. That's a season sweep, 6-0 against the Nationals. What it does is it solidifies the fact that Washington will be selling at the trade deadline. They now have no chance to make the playoffs. They will now be sellers at the deadline. They have no choice but to do that. So you're talking about Lane Thomas now going out. You're talking about some of the other short-term contract guys. A couple of their bullpen arms might be on the way out. So, yeah, the other part of this is they got rid of another team that was on the periphery of chasing them in the wild card hunt and turn them into sellers, and that gives A.J. Preller another potential option of a team to go and get some extra reinforcements on. So that's even bigger picture here for the 2024 playoffs. That's another thing to look at with this is Cease just jettisoned the Nationals into non-playoff contention. You know what it's like? It's like what the Pirates did the Padres last year when they went 5-1 against San Diego.
Yeah.
You didn't even split that. If they even split that series 3-3, the Padres are in the playoffs. That's how wild this is.
Yeah. I have one devastating piece of news to update you on. In my haste, I had the number wrong. It was 112.
For Joe?
Yeah.
There
was a close call where he went 114. So my bad. Wanted to issue the correction there. Makes that part of it a little less fun. So my apologies to everyone.
Well, he's got to move out now. Then.
He's got to move out.
He's got to leave the guest house.
Sorry.
They're obviously on completely different wavelengths.
Joe did it on an efficient 112 pitches. Dylan Cease, those 3 walks racked up.
How many strikeouts did Joe have in his?
That's a good question, and I'll try.
Cease had 9 punch outs in this one.
I'll try to.
Aside from the walks, and this is what we talked about when people are trying to compare him to Blake Snell. Aside from the walks, he didn't have a whole lot of 3-ball counts, right? Like he was pretty efficient in getting ahead of guys and putting them away in this game.
Yeah.
And as you know, when Dylan Cease gets 2 strikes on you, like he'll try to put you away with some contact, get you to ground out, pop up, whatever. When it gets 2 strikes, it's put away time. It is strikeout time at that point, and he's very good at doing that. But he didn't fall behind like Snell would. And this is why Snell will never throw a no-hitter, because as he'll have no hit stuff through 7 innings, we'll throw 128 pitches in that time.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's like maybe the one step for a Michael King too, because you do go into those deep counts when you have, Randy Vasquez the other day is as efficient as he was. He had 1 strikeout. He pitched to contact, and often that is the formula, and that formula has kind of eluded Blake Snell. It's just not his MO. Whereas Dylan Cease has kind of threaded the needle a little bit more, cut down on walks, and that's been a big part of what he was able to accomplish today.
But you want a couple other parallels that are kind of cool here? Joe struck out 10 in his no-hitter. The final score of that game was 3-0. The final score of today's game was 3-0. Cease had 9 strikeouts. Joe had 10 strikeouts. This is, man, I'm telling you. Jurickson Profar was also in the lineup for that other one. Yep, I like it. This is awesome. This is just awesome.
Hats off to Dylan Cease. Incredible accomplishment, and it's just been a lot of fun to cover him and watch him. And you talk about like his laid back nature. Like if you just turn the TV on, it's funny because we had some of the folks walk in not knowing what was going on, and they're just watching the game, not thinking anything of it. If you just popped in and watched Dylan Cease, you would never have any idea. He is just so calm and stoic and has that quiet confidence about him on the mound, and that was on display and seemed to really serve him well. Like, I think Joe's heartbeat was probably a little more accelerated for his than Dylan's was today.
Yeah, but also look at everything Joe's had riding on it. I mean, a hometown team,
guy.
First one in franchise history.
And he just got into town.
It's like
that was what, his 2nd or 3rd start. Too.
It was in April, yeah.
April 9th.
It's like that when you're talking about a guy who grew up rooting and dying with that team for so many years. So they're the first one in that uniform. That adds a whole nother level of Like how do you handle that pressure?
Yeah.
That's just the pure, not even pressure, the pure emotion he must have been feeling.
Yeah.
Like Cease is out there like, dude, we're in Washington. It's a day game. There are 12,000 people in the stands. I'm just going to go out and do my thing. Whereas Musgrove was like, this is for the city.
They're going to spray paint a mural of me on my side of my high school if I get this done.
Okay, by the way, where is the Cease mural going now?
Oh, that's a great question.
On the side of Joe's guest house.
On the side of Joe's guest house. Maybe you put it at a Morley Field disc golf course.
Cease big on disc golf.
He's big disc golf
Big disc golfer. I like it.
That's a question for the crowd.
And also the other question is, how quickly will Eric Grupner and the guys over in the front office at Petco Park have a Dylan Cease no-hitter bobblehead giveaway?
That's a great question.
That's already, like, they've contacted the company to start making those molds, right? Like, that's happening.
100%. And it should.
So I'm saying, like, September?
Where
September, we should have a special theme game, Dylan Cease no-hitter. Give it away.
I'm trying to remember, like, what maybe the image should be him in the dugout with his hat back, kind of talking to Mike Schilt.
That'd be awesome. That'd be because
that was like the pivotal moment that allowed him to.
They'll probably also make something commemorating Bogaerts and Merrill. Like they'll do one where it'd be a bobble ball.
Have a ball that's on like
it's
a
going
bungee.
like back and forth like that. Yeah, that would be fun. God, we should be in marketing for the Padres. This is great stuff. Eric, you're welcome.
There you go, Eric. It's in your hands now. So this continues a trend of incredible starts. Nothing but quality starts for the Padres to start the second half so far. Now we've made it through the rotation and then some.
And they're 5-1. They've got a winning road trip no matter what happens in Baltimore.
That's right. And you called me crazy when I said they're going to go 7-4 to start this. They still might not go 7-4, but they're at least off to a good start.
Well, after this road trip, it could be 5-4, and then have to sweep. So you just don't know. But
you just don't know. But really, really promising, like you said. And should we transition a little bit, finish with kind of some deadline talk? Because obviously, as we turn the page from this one, looking ahead to Tuesday, that's going to be the topic that's on everybody's minds. And outside of Dylan Cease's no-hitter is probably the case as it is anyways. I don't know if like anything they did these couple weeks would really have an impact on their approach. It felt like they're going to try and buy regardless. I couldn't imagine a situation where they're going to be selling, especially given the stakes of this season with AJ.
The question is, how much are they buying?
Right.
Yeah. They're buying.
And so given what we've seen so far, does that impact anything? Like, what's your outlook now, 4 or 5 days away from the deadline?
We've seen them go on a stretch like this before with the starting pitching, 5 consecutive quality starts, and then the next week and a half was abysmal. So
yes,
you can't rely on that. You'd like to hope that's not the case. But you also can probably, with fairly decent accuracy, say they're not going to get nothing but quality starts the rest of the way to the end of the season. It's 58 games, 57 games. That's not happening either. So you got to find some reinforcements. And that still doesn't solve the fact that you still have issues in the bullpen. And you probably need maybe a little more thump in a corner outfield spot. That'd be right field. And maybe a little bit of bench depth. I'm not nearly as concerned about the catching situation right now as I was before. So that'd be a luxury item, if you will, to go out and get another catcher. Right now, this team looks good. It looks good, but here's the thing. They say strike while the iron's hot. Well, right now, the iron is very, very hot.
Very, very hot.
So, AJ, put on your blacksmithing gear and get out there and find something else to really take all this momentum, take all this good vibe going right now, and build on it in that clubhouse.
That's what he's done. And you remember last year was the Rangers series right before the eventual World Series champs. They sweep that series and they were really kind of, on the brink of which way do they go? Do they sell off Cease? Do they sell off Hader? Do they go for it? They decided to keep those guys and add. It didn't quite work out great, but that Rangers series, I think, gave them a confirmation they needed to kind of push the chips in a little bit more. And you're seeing that now. You're also seeing separation in the NL wild card. That was very, very congested for a long time up until really the last week, where there's a clear line of demarcation between the Mets, the Pirates, the Padres,
which we knew was going to happen. It just took a long time.
And then teams like the Giants, the Nationals, the Cubs. So maybe that gives you a little bit more confidence. And also maybe there's a little bit less of a bidding war. Do the Cubs not go for it? Maybe they just stand pat. The Giants, do the Nats say, okay, this is just kind of a build-up year with some of these young pieces, no need to sell anything off or to compromise the future for a rental or something like that. So all of that could kind of play into, making the coming days a little bit more favorable and giving AJ Preller even more reason to make some moves and be aggressive.
Just pulled up the wild card standings. As of right now, after that victory, the Padres have knocked the Cardinals out by a half game of the final wild card spot.
Okay.
They're in a virtual tie with the Mets for the number 2 wild card spot. The Mets play the Braves this afternoon. Right now, the Giants and Dodgers are scoreless in the second inning. If the Giants lose that one, they will fall a full 5.5 games out of the final wild card spot with 5 teams between them and said wild card spot. That's got to pop them into seller's mode, you would think, given the issues they've had up there with Bomel. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Also, just look at this. The Braves have lost 4 straight. Right now, they're only a game and a half ahead of the Mets and Padres for the number 4 wild card spot that would host a first-round playoff series. So if the Mets somehow find a way to win that one, all of a sudden, the Mets are a half game up and the Braves just a game up. The Padres can now start dreaming on hosting a playoff series. You're damn right you go out and get yourself some more reinforcements and go and get one of these spots because you can do some damage.
And on top of that, they're now missing Ozzy Albies. And I haven't seen for how long, but, another major hit for the Braves.
No Acuna, no Albies. And by the way, go get the Braves now because when those guys come back next year, this ain't going to happen again. Spencer Strider's been out all year.
Yeah.
They're decimated.
And I misspoke. They haven't gone through the full rotation because of days off. They've been able to skip that 5th starter, which obviously has been kind of the bugaboo for them. And that's part of the reason why there is motivation and need to add to the rotation. James Paxton's out there too. I thought maybe he was worth a flyer, but
he is worth a flyer.
But at this point, and these things aren't mutually exclusive, if there's a little bit more runway, you could have maybe a few weeks to see what you have in him, and that might impact your thinking at the deadline. I don't know if you can really bank on that as much as say, okay, we're going to trade for somebody, but also bring in James Paxton and, just see what we have there.
Well, if he's up to it, get him in here to work with Ruben Niebla, claim him, sign to a minor league deal, whatever. Put him on the injured list for a little bit, whatever you have to do. It's not often that guys from the Dodgers don't figure it out on the mound. I mean, look at Tyler Anderson. The list of guys who have gone to LA and had their careers resurrected. Tyler Glasnow has been better than he ever has been. Insert name here. Tony Gonsolin was better than he ever has been with the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. It's rare that guys go there and don't figure it out.
Yeah.
But Ruben Niebla is a guy who can, as we've seen with Dylan Cease and Michael King, he makes pitchers get better. And the problem with James Paxton this year is the same problem that Blake Snell had, is he's walking the ballpark. I think you and I have drawn a walk from James Paxton this year. The guy can't find the strike zone nearly as consistently. When he's getting outs, as we saw against the Padres, he's really good.
Yeah.
The stuff can work. And what would be better than getting a guy that helps you get in the playoffs against the Dodgers while the Dodgers are paying his salary? Because the LA's on the hook for this. Mm-hmm. They would have to pay him.
Yeah.
So if you can get him in here for whatever's left of the league minimum and see if there's anything left at all, I say there's no question you try and do it.
Yeah, and as a cheap option, hear fans say, he's washed, and that's fine. Like, his numbers aren't great, but his
ERA doesn't do you anything bad.
His ERA is like 3 points lower than Adam Mazur's is right now.
Yeah.
So it's an upgrade there. And again, not saying that you put all your eggs in that basket and say, okay, we don't need to, add anybody else. I think you can still do that.
It's a depth piece.
It's a depth piece, and like you said, salary-wise, you shouldn't. I mean, you're looking at, I would think, paying the minimum. And so it's not going to hurt you from that standpoint. They have a little bit of wiggle room. If they sell off, a piece from the 40-man or from the active roster, there's the Ha-seong Kim chatter. Bryce Miller, UT, did a piece talking about Donovan Solano. We've seen he was in the lineup today. We've seen him get fewer opportunities because of Bogaerts' return. Maybe a guy like that I think we all really like and have enjoyed having be on this team. He's been super, super productive. But maybe that's a piece that they move on from, as part of a package to land a starter or a quality bullpen arm.
It's good to have options. And at this point, find as many options as you can possibly find. And James Paxton is not a bad guy to bring in as an option. And we've seen AJ Preller do this before with guys too. I mean, Josh Johnson, just find guys who have had trouble or injury issues or command issues or control issues and get them in here, see if they have anything left. You give them 3 starts. If it doesn't work out, oh, freaking well. It doesn't cost you anything, and it might be something that really pays dividends down the stretch. Because remember, this Padres offense is not like last year's Padres offense. This Padres offense this year has shown the ability, if your starting pitcher doesn't have it, they can win you a shootout.
Yeah.
That's something they weren't going to do last year. So maybe it puts a little pressure on them to do that this year when Pax is on the mound. But also, I mean, the dude's nickname is Big Maple because he's huge. He's from Canada. I just want that dude's nickname on the team because it's awesome.
That's true. That's a good one. And that would make for another good bobblehead opportunity.
Yeah. Like you can tie that into Star Wars night or a Marvel night and do him as Groot.
I had something in my mind, and then you went down the big maple tangent, and I completely lost it.
I do that sometimes. I apologize for that there.
It's an interesting scenario that they're in, and, especially with the uncertainty around Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish. Oh, what I was going to say is you talk about bouncing back from big innings. I mean, Wednesday, a great example of that. Waldron gives up 3 in the first. You think, okay, like maybe this is the game where Waldron and the team come down to earth. Then they score 12 unanswered runs. They have more 4+ run innings than anybody else in baseball. They have an 8-run comeback. They've shown that ability where the pitching hasn't had to be perfect. The offense is done. Now it's come a little bit in spurts. They've been a bit hot and cold, so it's hard to know. Sometimes it feels like the best indicator of future success is them playing garbage baseball.
Yep.
And you should be most concerned when they're on a hot streak as they are right now. Just like the end of the first half, they go 12-3, then they have a 1-6 homestand or 2-6 homestand, whatever it is. But they're rolling right now. They look really good. Pitching has been awesome. Timely hits from everywhere, up and down the lineup. Higashioka, Xander Bogaerts, hasn't hit for power, but has hit consistently. Get on base. Jackson Merrill, 4-hit game. Profar Arise doing their thing. That's been a fun aspect of this to watch. I think you mentioned some position players. Do you flirt with that at all, or is your focus? Like, give me the tiers of priority for AJ Preller as it stands. What you really feel like he needs to take care of by Tuesday.
Arms is one. I don't care if it's bullpen. I don't care if it's.
Is there one or the other? If you had to say, if it's a Tanner Scott or a Jack Flaherty, you're like, okay, we might have to push him.
If it's Jack Flaherty, you get Jack Flaherty.
Okay.
He's been too good this year. I saw him early in his career. If he's back to being that guy consistently, you get Jack Flaherty. That would be a great addition to this ball club. If you could get, I don't think Tariq Skubal is going anywhere unless Detroit goes in a full-blown sell-off mode. But if you could get a Garrett Crochet, you do it. If you could get a Yusei Kikuchi, you do it. Guys who are veterans, good stuff. Maybe not the world beaters, but they're going to give you a chance to win every time they take the ball. Mm-hmm. Not going to have a Dylan Cease type of stuff, but they're going to put you in a position where you can win that ball game that day, and they're going to be good clubhouse additions. Starter is the number one priority because if you get a couple of those guys, Musgrove comes back. Randy Vasquez has been tremendous out of the bullpen in his career. That's addition by addition. You bring somebody in, he gets bumped out of the rotation. Guess what? You got yourself a stretched out, really good, high-quality bullpen arm. Mm-hmm. So if you address the rotation, you're also by the trickle-down effect helping out the bullpen. Yeah. So if you could, that'd be my number one priority. Short of that, go and find yourself a bullpen arm, like a high leverage bullpen arm, a guy who can get you the ball from your starting pitching to Robert Suarez. You need that because Jeremiah Straw has been pretty good in the 8th inning. He's had some health issues a little bit up and down. If he can come back to being the 8th inning guy, then you've got that locked in. You need that 6-7 area because De Los Santos has not been reliable. Kolek has not been reliable. Matsui has not been consistent. It's you got to find that other guy that in a high leverage game you can get to that 9th inning.
Yeah, no question. Now, I think the big question becomes, what are you willing to give up? And that kind of comes down to a couple different areas. Leo DeVries and Ethan Salas, first and foremost. The top tier in terms of your mind. And I
keep your damn hands off my catcher, Darnay.
Okay. Dylan Lesko and Robbie Snelling.
The bloom's off their rose a little bit. They have not thrown as well this year as people had hoped they would. Now, granted, Snelling is a 20-year-old in the Texas League. Average age of the Texas League is 24. So they pushed him aggressively. He's struggling a little bit right now. I don't think he's anything wrong with him, but scouts can make that. When you're talking about a trade package, they can make that. Look at this guy's numbers this year. He ain't what we thought he was last year. So you're selling low on Robbie Snelling.
Yeah.
You could still make the case with Lesko. There's all right, first year, full year back from the Tommy John surgery. The stuff looks great. He's having trouble finding the strike zone, which does happen when guys come back from this injury, not for this prolonged period of time usually.
Mm-hmm.
But you're kind of selling low on those guys who have great stuff, but the production is not there right now. So do you want to touch them? This is the bottom line. Do you go big game hunting with the guys like Flaherty and Crochet, or do you go out and get some more, sidebar marginal arms, not like a guy like a Kikuchi on an expiring contract, and not have to give up nearly as much?
Yeah,
that's what AJ has to ask himself right now.
I'm in that second column. Where it's more mid rotation type guys, because you have your top of the rotation, you have a Cease, you have a King, Waldron's pitched really, really well, and potentially Joe Musgrove coming back. So you don't need an ace, you don't necessarily need a number 2, and I would hate to have to pony up what it would take to get one of those guys when you're looking at what you could have to give up in the farm. Every so often, though, somebody on the pod says something that kind of sticks with me. And of course, it's John Conniff talking about Dylan Lesko and is he going to develop that third pitch? And if not, does he turn into more of a bullpen piece? And so that's what makes me think like, okay, maybe you can sacrifice a guy like that if it gets you what you need for the stretch run where the 2 big fish are safe, Salas and DeVries. You're keeping one of your stud arms and you're parting with one to give yourself the best chance to make a run at it this year. I could make peace with that.
Yeah, Lesko's 20 though.
Yeah, and that's the risk you take. He is still very young.
And you're right, that's a problem. We don't know. So it's that comes down to what are you getting? For a guy like Kikuchi, absolutely not. You're not giving up a guy like Lesko. For a guy like Crochet, you're absolutely giving up a guy like Lesko. Now for 6 starts of Jack Flaherty, now we're in that gray area of, oh boy, I don't know. That's maybe a little bit of a big thing to part with. But if you feel like you've got this thing, then, the National League is kind of up in the air right now, aside from the Phillies.
Yeah.
Who are still, they're as close to a complete team as you're going to find, but they're not, not unbeatable by any stretch of the imagination. All these teams have something that they need to work on. So this could be the year in the National League where if you get in and you get hot, you could make that run to the World Series. So are you willing to get 6 plus maybe 2 or 3 postseason starts from Jack Flaherty? Or do you want to give up a guy like Lesko for that?
Yeah.
That's the one I honestly don't know. That's all the internal thoughts and what does the front office think about what Lesko can truly be and when he can be that. Like that, those are the conversations we're not privy to.
Yeah.
Looking from the outside, I think it's probably I would be more apt to part with a guy like Lesko for 6, 7 starts of Jack Flaherty. Because if you add Flaherty to this mix right now, man, you talk about a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch, especially if Musgrove comes back healthy and hopefully Darvish gets everything sorted out. Man, that rotation, good freaking luck.
Well, and if they have all those arms, that's going to trickle down to the bullpen and help the bullpen as well.
That would be obscene.
John Heyman this morning, Garrett Crochet, his plan with the White Sox is to pitch normal workload as starter until end of the regular season. If traded, would need an extension to pitch in October. He won't move to bullpen and will not take any break. Views starter routine as best for health. Now, this might be Scott Boras speaking through John Heyman.
Is Crochet's agent Scott Boras?
I believe so, yes.
Have we reached a point now that Scott Boras is bad for baseball players?
You could make an argument based on, was it Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell's seasons this year? Yes.
And Cody Bellinger's season?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I believe he's a Scott Boras client.
Well, if that, now you're talking about a guy who is thinking of, he's Josh Hader. He's talking about wanting to do what's best for him and maybe not what's best for the team and not trusting that the team's not going to put him in a position that's going to be detrimental to his career.
Yes.
I don't like that at all.
Well, and the other thing too is, could it force
need an extension to pitch into October?
Well, and also allow them to control the trade. If they want to go to the Dodgers, they know the Dodgers can sign the extension. If they're cooler on a team like the Padres. They're not sure if the Padres can sign the extension. So don't trade for me because you might not get.
If this is accurate, then that takes him off the board for the Padres. You'd have to assume it takes him off the board for the Padres.
Yeah.
Right? Now, does Heyman say if that extension has to be signed before the end of the season, or can it be in the offseason? Because after this year, the Padres reset that luxury tax, hopefully, unless they go crazy at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Then you can talk legitimately about an extension.
He is represented by CAA.
Okay.
So he's not a Boris client.
That's interesting. I don't know, man.
Not
Not a fan of that thought process.
If they dealt Ha-seong Kim, you would feel.
Well, tell me what they're getting.
Well, and if they get fair value. If you look and say, okay, I can make peace with that.
Oh, yeah. If you get fair value, I can make peace with that.
Yeah.
I mean, am I sad because I love the kid? Yes. Is it a massive loss given his double-digit errors this year? Probably not. And the fact he's very likely going to decline the mutual option for next year at $7 million.
Offensively, he hasn't given you a whole lot.
He's great, and I love the kid. But if you're getting something equal in return and adding another piece on top of that, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. And from an offensive standpoint, Donovan Solano's doing a little bit more for you anyways. So if it allows you to keep Solano around, both great clubhouse guys. Solano's been a great professional addition. So I wouldn't lose too much sleep over that. Even
when you move Bogaerts back to short in that situation?
I would think so.
Cronenworth a second, Arise at first. Of course, Manny stays at third.
And Solano bounces around.
Tyler Wade
and
Donovan Solano bounce around. Okay.
Yeah. And you never know. Like, as part of a trade, they might get another infield bench piece or something like that. Who knows how it works out in terms of the active roster. But I feel like everybody's kind of come around to that. Whereas, like, after last season, it's like, oh, I'd hate to give him up. Given the way the season's gone so far and their needs, it's like, and the fact that he's going to be a free agent, you can make peace with it.
Or you could just trade for Pete Alonso and put him at first base and have Arise be your DH and nurse that thumb a little bit.
You were on the Chris Sale train, and he's had an incredible season. They couldn't have afforded him, but you were on that. I'll give you credit for that.
If Sale's available, go get him. The guy's too good to not be good this year. That in the offseason, go back and listen to those episodes. Man.
Do you want to close out with a few recommendations for the Dylan Cease mural?
Bring it.
Morley Field. One of the first ones that popped up.
Like it.
The Cat Cafe.
There's a Cat Cafe
here? You mentioned I think there's multiple. Looks like there's one in the Gas Lamp. I think there's also a Cat Wine Bar on Adams Avenue. Have you been to the Cat Cafe?
Scott Baird, our photojournalist extraordinaire.
He's done live shots from the Cat Cafe.
Is there room there for a mural?
Look, I mean,
Scott says he thinks yes.
It's only a few inches on Google Maps from Petco Park.
A few inches on Google. And what is the current aspect ratio on Google Maps?
It's only this far from Petco Park on Google Maps. So I think that'd be a perfect location.
Like 6 blocks or so.
Yeah. But in the greater Gas Lamp area, Helen Woodward Animal Shelter. So there you go.
I like that. Yeah, over there by USD.
I think Morley Field and the Cat Cafe. That seemed like. I don't know if you're gonna have two better ideas.
Those are pretty good. Those are pretty good. Yeah.
You know, it was more than pretty good.
Dylan Cease.
Yep. That was awesome. This was fun. Oggi's Carmel Mountain Ranch. There's the pepperoni pizza waiting for us. Always great to be here amongst the people. Really fun pod. Appreciate the NBC7 crew. Scott Baird, folks behind the scenes, the sales team, the street team for getting this all set up. Oggi's for their hospitality. Come watch a Padres game. Drink a beer. Get yourself an Oggi's glass. This was fun and could have never imagined we'd be talking about a no-hitter. Here I'm like looking at trade targets and that stuff last night. We maybe mentioned 2 or 3 of them because we had more important business to talk about.
Well, it's fresh for next week.
Yeah,
which is nice because next week will be the first day after the trade deadline.
Yes. Yeah, we will.
Unless you have an emergency pod on Monday because all hell breaks loose.
I'm imagining there will be an emergency pod at some point Monday or Tuesday, and then our normal podcast on Thursday, and hopefully another visit out to your friendly neighborhood Oggi's down the line as well. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.